Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
And that was Seth Moulton's situation. You just heard how much, okay, he said the war is rotten, right? So it wasn't just that moment. I'm like, wait a second. I've seen this guy before, Congressman Moulton. Now, where is it? Where the hell did I see this guy? And I saw him in a movie back in 2007. It was called No End in Sight. It was a documentary. I saw it here in New York. And I remember seeing this guy. He was like one of the main guys in it. You're going to hear his voice. There are a bunch of people in it complaining about the war, including him. Cut 10, if you don't mind. Cut 10.
There was absolute lawlessness.
We're in a transition period.
Stuff happens.
The Iraqi army was essentially standing there, waiting.
The Iraqi army has been disbanded, and I was floored.
You had huge ammunition dumps that weren't guarded.
I'm standing there watching these insurgents pull out rockets and mortars and bombs, and the U.S. say to you, we just don't have enough people to cover it.
We never had a single armored Humvee
That's
while we
him.
were in Iraq.
Why don't we have those resources?
You go to war with the army you have.
We don't have enough troops.
All right, so he's in that little clip there. And he has more parts in this documentary where he's bad-mouthing the war. The one that he signed up to go to multiple times. Now, why did you do that? And why was there a news crew at his house when he's packing to go to war? ABC News profiled this guy. Captain Nobody on his way to war, but he was Captain Somebody. After all, he went to Harvard, and he had political ambition. Who the hell else has a camera crew following them around as they're off to war? You know who does? Guys like Pete Buttigieg, guys like John Kerry, right? John Kerry invented the playbook, right? Volunteer for an unpopular war, come back, be that war's critic, and write your own political ticket. It worked for John Kerry for a while, but it ultimately shot him in the foot because the Swift Boat Veterans for Truth never forgot about his betrayal. I'll get to that in a second. So here is Seth Moulton going off to Iraq. Having gone off to Iraq and war zones myself multiple times, I remember my parents and no news crews. My parents brought me to the airport. They brought me to the ship. My brother was there once. No news crews, just family. The loneliest, most traumatic, not traumatic, but it was lonely and a little bit scary. 1998, February. I was off for a 6-month deployment to the Middle East. And my parents drove me to San Diego from Yuma, Arizona, about a 2.5-hour drive. And it was a little bit, I wasn't really thrilled to be going. But I had to go. And I went. I was also a little bit excited to be going. But no news cameras. Never even thought that what I was doing was newsworthy. It was my job. But for Seth Moulton, it was an opportunity. What do we got here? ABC News, cut 11, go.
I first met Seth Moulton in 2007 at his parents' home in Marblehead, Massachusetts, as the Harvard graduate was headed back to Iraq for his 4th combat tour.
I think a lot of people look at me and say, why do you want to go back now? Why would you want to be a part of the war when it's going so poorly? But I think this is the most important time for people to serve.
Now, why in the hell would that be? We already know we had no business being there, no weapons of mass destruction. What are you going back for? So you could brag about it someday. So you could use it on your political resume. To do it so, look, people join the military for all kinds of things, all right? I've heard of guys joining the military because they like the uniforms, okay? If you want to be a politician, fine. All right. But to have a movie crew there the whole time and to have it in your head that you're going to go over there and oppose the war. That's the reason why you're going, is to advance, right? Not just, okay, yeah, military service is a good thing to have done if you're interested in career politics, but to use that service. Like, I went to Iraq. I am a Marine. Therefore, I know more than you, right? And this war is bad. And now I can say it's just like John Kerry. Anybody remember John Kerry, this traitorous, pompous jerk? If it wasn't for John Kerry and this little stunt that he pulled, there'd be no Pete Buttigieg, there'd be no Seth Moulton. Listen to John Kerry come home and stab everybody in the front, back, and face, and breast, chest, neck, and head.
Each day, to facilitate the process by which the United States washes her hands of Vietnam, someone has to give up his life, so that the United States doesn't have to admit something that the entire world already knows, so that we can't say we've made a mistake. Someone has to die so that President Nixon won't be, and these are his words, the first president to lose a war.
Stop for a second. So he's giving this speech in raggedy old, like, army fatigues before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Right? This was, and he ran for Congress like 10 seconds later. Lost, by the way. And this would ultimately come back to screw him over. Like the SWIPO Veterans for Truth. I love that campaign. So this really bothers me because Seth Moulton, Marine, he is the only Marine I have ever heard do what you're about to hear him do. J.D. Vance gets picked to be vice president, right? The vice presidential nominee. And one of the cool things about J.D. Vance, he's a Marine. I didn't even know it. You know what was cool about J.D. Vance? I actually told him this. He didn't make that big a deal about being a Marine. It was something he did. It was just a learning experience. He didn't hit people about the face and breast, chest, neck, and head with his military service. And Seth Moulton gives him a hard time. He was a public affairs officer, which is a combat role. It doesn't matter what your job is in the Marine Corps. You're a Marine. And in a war like that, anybody, you never know when your number is up. Where's this thing? Excuse me. Cut 12.
Yeah, I was just wondering what you thought about the news that Donald Trump had selected J.D. Vance, who is also a Marine Corps veteran, to be his vice presidential nominee.
He's a Marine Corps veteran. I mean, a combat correspondent. He didn't do much fighting. And he doesn't exactly uphold Marine values. In fact, not even close to it.
So the whole part, he didn't do much fighting. You know, every Marine is a rifleman, a combat correspondent. You know who? Megan McClung was an officer who died in Iraq, public affairs officer. I think she's the first female killed in action graduate of the Naval Academy. Total hero. Happened to be a public affairs officer. For him to say I've never heard a Marine say that. Put down somebody else's MOS to some jerk on a podcast. And, so what have we seen so far? He's been in a movie. He's been inviting network news crews into his house when he goes on deployment. And then let's find out a little bit about what he did over in Iraq. You ready for this? Here he is on the Seth Moulton goes on the Seth Meyers show to talk a little bit about all the fighting he did in Baghdad. No, it sounds a little bit different to me. Check this out. It really is something. Cut 13.
But you also were a local celebrity. You had a show, a television show in Iraq called Moulton and Muhammad.
Moulton and Muhammad with my translator, Muhammad. And, I mean, we were celebrities. I mean, I used to get fan mail. I used to have to sign autographs in the street. I mean, no one asked me for my autograph now as a member of Congress. So this is a total step down in terms
of here are you and your translator. That's Muhammad there. So what was the show? Like, what did you guys, what was the goal of broadcasting in Iraq to people who had obviously never had non-state controlled television?
Well, it was amazing because we actually believed in the Marine Corps that a free media was important to a democracy. Sort of a crazy concept these days.
Get a little dig in there, right? Trump, of course, right, is anti-democratic and all that. How about that? He goes all the way over. What? I never heard about that either. The Moulton and Muhammad show? What a media whore. WHORE or media hoe. Should we call him a media hoe instead, for short, to be a little bit cool? Seth Moulton, media hoe. Never heard of a Marine hosting a show from Baghdad. Never heard of a Marine getting profiled on his way to a deployment or being in a movie. Just that's really cute, isn't it? But we busted it wide open. Sorry, Seth, I know it's your lifelong dream, and you had multiple wet dreams about this, but you're never going to be president. In large part, thanks to me. We'll be right back.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.